My cousin registered his car under my name just for a month. Now there's a warrant and $6,000 in fines, all on me. It didn't even seem like a big ask at the time. He said he just needed someone to register the car under their name temporarily. Said it was a clerical issue. Said he'd been rejected for some dumb technicality at the DMV. No permanent address, expired insurance, something vague like that. And since I had a clean record, it would go through faster. His words. We were family. Not close, but grew up together. He was always the loud one at reunions. The guy who borrowed $40 and paid back $30 2 months later like it was a favor to you. Still, he'd helped me move last summer. Drove a U-Haul 6 hours and didn't complain once. So when he said, "It's just for like a month, I'll fix it when my new job kicks in," I said yes. We met at the registration office. He paid the fee. I showed my ID, signed where I had to, and walked out listed as the official owner of a dark green Honda Accord. I didn't drive it. Never even had the keys. It stayed with him. He kept the title in the glove box. The insurance was still in his name. It was basically a formality, or so I thought. First 2 weeks? Nothing. Then a thin envelope from the Department of Motor Vehicles. I opened it absent-mindedly, thinking it was a renewal notice for my own car. Inside was a citation. Speeding. Camera ticket. 47 in a 25 zone. Photo of the license plate, the green Honda. My name printed cleanly under. Registered owner. I took a photo and texted it to him. No reaction. Called, straight to voicemail. He texted back 2 hours later. "Don't worry, I'll handle it. You won't have to pay a thing." Okay. Second envelope came 4 days later. Parking violation. Blocked fire hydrant. $145. Then another. Failure to update insurance record. $300 fine. Notice of administrative hearing. This time, I didn't wait. I called him. He picked up sounding half asleep, like I was the one overreacting. Said he'd had a rough week. Said he was taking care of it. Said to chill. That phrase stuck with me. Because I wasn't chill. I was registered as the legal owner of a vehicle racking up infractions I didn't commit. I'd never even sat in it. Week 4, I came home to a thick manila envelope taped to my door. Certified mail. Court paperwork. Apparently, one of the fines had escalated. There was now a scheduled appearance, in my name, for failure to respond. I called him again. This time, no answer. No text. Silence. I Googled the license plate, used a state violation tracker site. 6 outstanding tickets. 2 unpaid. I sat in my apartment that night and realized something. I wasn't covering for him. I was carrying it. Because the system didn't care who actually drove the car. It cared whose name was on the line. And that name was mine. By week 5, I stopped giving him the benefit of the doubt. I started calling the DMV myself. Started asking questions. Started digging. They told me I was on the hook. Every ticket. Every penalty. Every administrative cost. If I didn't contest them officially or prove someone else was driving, I was liable. They didn't care that it was temporary. They didn't care that the driver and I weren't the same. The car was mine. So the problems were mine. I went back through our texts. Screenshots. Messages. Nowhere did he say he would take responsibility in writing. Nothing binding. Just a lot of casual reassurance. He knew exactly what he was doing. I just hadn't known what I was agreeing to. The worst part? I couldn't even unregister the car without physically bringing it in, and I didn't have the car. He did. And now he wasn't picking up. I reached out to a mutual cousin, just to see if he'd heard anything. he said. Oh yeah, he's been driving upstate lately. Ubering people. Cars doing numbers. Uber. He was making money off it. And using my name as the shield. At that moment, something broke. Because there's a line between helping family and being a fall guy. And I'd crossed it without realizing. That night, I ordered a certified letter kit. Printed a termination of use notice. Documented every violation under my name. I was done waiting. Next step? DMV. I was going to pull the plug before this turned into something bigger than fines. But I was already late. Because in my mailbox the next morning was a white envelope with red print. Notice of vehicle impoundment. Vehicle, Honda Accord. Reason, multiple unpaid violations. I wasn't even surprised. I just stood there, letter in hand, realizing he hadn't just used my name. He'd burned it. I took a day off work. I didn't even ask for permission. I just sent an email. Family emergency. Grabbed the impound notice, printed every ticket I had on file, and headed to the DMV. If I waited any longer, this would spiral into something permanent. Insurance hikes. Suspended license. Maybe even collections. The DMV was hell, as expected. Lines, angry people, broken printers. When I finally got to the counter, I handed over everything. Explained what happened, calmly, directly. That I let my cousin register a car under my name. Temporarily. That I didn't have possession of it, and that it's now been impounded for violations I didn't commit. The woman didn't even blink. She took my ID, typed into her computer, and looked back up at me. Are you aware you've been flagged in the system? I asked what that meant. You're listed as a non-compliant registered owner. Multiple unpaid fines, failure to appear, and the vehicle's VIN is now tagged as high risk. She flipped the screen so I could see. My name. My address. My driver's license number. All tied to a bright yellow alert. I stood there staring at it like it was someone else's file. Can I just remove myself as the owner? No. Not while it's impounded. You'll need to settle all outstanding fees, retrieve the vehicle, and then initiate a formal transfer or disposal. But I don't have the car. She shrugged. You're the owner. Legally. I left with a headache and a printed form titled, Request for Owner Release. A document that basically said, if you want out, prove everything, pay everything, and maybe we'll consider it. It was starting to feel like identity theft, except I'd signed it myself. I took a cab to the impound lot listed on the notice. Industrial zone. Barbed wire fence. The guy at the window took one look at the paperwork and said, $1 for 70 to release. Cash or certified funds only. I blinked. It's not even my car. He shrugged. It is in our system. I asked to see it. He pointed. There it was. Honda Accord. Driver's side mirror cracked. Back bumper dented. Empty air freshener swinging from the mirror. I didn't know what I expected, but seeing it like that hit harder than I thought. The physical proof of the problem. Sitting in a gravel lot, racking up fees while I stood there eating the consequences. I didn't pay. Not yet. I went home and tried calling my cousin again. Straight to voicemail. Again. No texts. No explanations. Just silence. Mutual friends said he was probably off-grid. For a bit, whatever that meant. One guy even laughed and said, Bro, he's always been slippery. Yeah. Slippery with other people's names. I spent the weekend making a spreadsheet. All fines. All fees. All deadlines. $6,120 total. It didn't even seem real. Not until I called my insurance to ask what this would do to my record, and the rep said, You'll be considered high risk for at least 18 months. Even if you weren't the driver. That's when I snapped. I stopped caring about being polite. Stopped trying to get my cousin on the phone. I called a lawyer. Not a fancy one. Just someone I found online with good reviews. We met the next morning. He told me, plain and simple, if you don't act now, you'll eat all of it. Every dollar. Every legal hit. The DMV doesn't care about stories. They care about signatures. And you signed. He advised I pay the minimum to get the car released, tow it to a scrap lot, and file a full affidavit stating the vehicle was abandoned and misused. It wasn't elegant, but it was clean. I borrowed the money, used my savings, called in a favor, paid the $1,470, had the car towed straight to a salvage yard that same day. They offered me $275. I didn't even argue. That night, I sat at my desk with the receipt in one hand and my cousin's block number still saved in my contacts. I didn't unblock him. I wrote him an email. You said 1 month. You disappeared for 3. You left me with over $6,000 in damage. I paid. I solved it. I fixed your mess. We're done. Don't contact me again. Then I hit send. No reply. No bounce. Just silence. The lawyer helped me file the affidavit. Statement of misuse. Statement of intent to relinquish ownership. Attached receipts, the DMV impound release, photos of the scrap lot. He mailed it with certified tracking. Said it would take a few weeks to process, but once approved, I'd be legally unbound. That word stuck with me. Unbound. Because that's what this had become, not just a bad favor or a few stupid tickets, but a kind of leash. Every fine, every piece of mail with my name on it, every time I got that low buzz in my stomach checking the mailbox. Tension I never agreed to. And when I really looked at it, I realized that's who my cousin was. Someone who asked for little things that became big things the second you said yes. This wasn't new. He'd borrowed a phone in college and racked up roaming charges. Used someone's Netflix password and changed the email to his own. Sold stuff on Facebook Marketplace with a friend's PayPal because his was locked. He was always the guy who just needed a favor. And people let him do it because he smiled through it. Because he said sorry like it was punctuation. Once the affidavit was filed, I made calls to the insurance company, told them the situation, said proof the vehicle was destroyed, asked them to note the file. To the DMV, logged into the portal, checked status. Still showed my name, but now marked release pending. To a credit agency, I opened a fraud alert just in case. I wasn't letting this snowball again. Weeks passed. One afternoon, I came home from work and found an envelope on my doormat. No name. No return address. Just, sorry. Inside was $200 in cash. That was it. No note. No signature. Just 2 bills folded into a flyer from a pizza place we used to go to as kids. I stood there holding it like it was radioactive. Then I slid it into a drawer and never touched it again. Because he didn't leave a return address. Because he didn't call. Because he knew that anything more would mean facing what he did. And I wasn't giving him that chance. By the end of the month, the DMV cleared me. Official release confirmed. Ownership revoked. No more liability. The woman on the phone said, "You're good to go." And I almost laughed. Because it didn't feel like a win. Just felt like dragging myself out of a ditch I didn't even know I was falling into. But it was over. That part, at least. Now, I don't answer numbers I don't recognize. I don't co-sign anything. I don't let anyone just use my name real quick. I got my boundaries back. I don't need to hate him. I don't even need to forgive him. I just don't need to hear from him again. That's enough.